recording because I'll record it to put on the YouTube for the people who miss it, right? Yeah, but yeah, disclaimer, I'm an intermediate artist. I don't really know a lot of the technical stuff I'm talking about. I just love color and I love observing color and I just love color in general. And this is just kind of what based on my experience and what I've picked up. First, I will kind of go over the plan for November to people who haven't really paid attention for like the last announcement and they're kind of like confused what is going on, what does season 2 mean and everything. Then yeah, color analysis. We will look at other people's color. We'll be analyzing the hue saturation value, kind of looking at the overall composition, and also kind of seeing what kind of color schemes they use, and stuff like value and like the basic stuff. And then I'll give a list of exercises. This is important for the plans for November. And then I'll also present the teased events, the create your own superhero slash villain, at the end of the workshop, just like to announce it and to explain it and for y'all to ask questions. And yeah, if you haven't watched the first workshop, it will probably be better, to have a better understanding. But like, that's fine. Like if you're already familiar with color, that's great and everything. All right, so oh yeah, plan for November. I forgot I changed the whole order and stuff. All right, so October is already finished, right? So in October, I mean, to be honest, this workshop also should belong into October, right? But we had some like educational watch parties, and this is like the second workshop, so this is supposed to say uh two, right? And we had the Promptober, our fun little events, right? And so October was all about gathering input on color, with the watch parties. I still have all those links posted in the forum, right? And this November, is going to be all about producing output because now we have basically gathered all this knowledge, all this information. And so we will start. I have to see if the setting is already on, but basically this is a screenshot of the Color Season 2 forum. This is the name. It should be, I think, the first thing in the art category in the server, and you will basically create your own journal, so to say, for practicing color. And so what you'll do is you'll go here, create a new post, and just put in like your name, like, oh, my name is Aishi, right? So it would be like, oh, Aishi's journal, to color, and you will basically post all your color practices, all your notes if you want to. It's basically all up to you what you put in there, even if it's like personal thoughts, like just treat it however you want to. I will also obviously create my journal, and you could take inspiration, or if you're like unsure, just look at mine. Um, it would be good if you wouldn't type in other people's journals because it's supposed to be kind of like a more personal thing. You could always like reach out to them in general chat or like art discussion to talk about what they're doing. You can react to messages though, with like emojis to hype them up or something, But it would be good to not talk in there, otherwise I'll delete your message and you'll be like, oh, where did my message go? Um, yeah, so we'll also be practicing together in VC. I'm not sure how much, but basically making studies based off the same reference. Um, I'll take some photos of some interesting subjects so we could just have fun together, or even like if it's like a more individual study, right? We'll try to meet in VC. Yeah, keep track of it in your journals, referring back to the resources, like the workshops and everything, and then also the list of practices I'll give at the end. And then, December, we'll have like a final color project to pull all the information together. And also, like, December, it's Christmas, so we're just gonna chill and watch videos about random subjects, so it's not really gonna be much about color anymore, right? Locations, color season 2. This is the forum where you can find this in. Study VC is the VC under lounge or something where you could, this is where I'll be. I mean, I'm doing the workshops here in this channel right now, but that's where I intended it to do first. So a lot of this like isn't really as accurate, but where we'll do like the group studies and the watch parties and everything. Keep an eye out on announcements. Everything will be pinged with a study ping, as you probably have already noticed, and blah blah blah. Right. Alright, that's cool. Yippee! Got the first part out of the way. First of all, though, a question to you, and you can answer in the chat. because this is going to be all about analyzing other people's art. A question to you: why do we even analyze or want to analyze other people's art? Like, why is it important for us, or why is it not important? All depends on your answer. So you can now type in the chat. Anything you think, anything that comes to mind. Let's see here. All right, Snooster says, when you observe professionals, you gain garner their ideas and what they put into their art. We analyze because that's how we learn. Yeah, exactly. To isolate that will we as the viewer find desirable and thus aim to replicate. Yeah, exactly. Hitting the nail on the head. Yeah, that's also what I wrote for my little answers. Snooster's still typing. Let's see what. Yeah. All right. Well, it's basically what I had to say as well, but also one other thing I'd like to add is that color, a lot of the. Oh, sorry for the gain. I was meant to be can. Oh, no problem. Yeah. All right. Sorry. Yeah, because color can be very intuitive sometimes. We don't actually think a lot about color. We're just, oh, I want this color, I want that color. Especially in digital art because you're like, oh, let me pick like a color for the skin. Um, and you just choose a random color that looks good. But we don't actually think a lot about the color we use. And so that's why it's always good to look at other artists and break down and simplify what they do, to widen our understanding, and also like um, see at I think what Scorching Scorpio was kind of hinting at, like see other ways we could use colors and kind of see what has an effect on us and everything. So, all right, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. So for this workshop, I have created a little thing to help us analyze color. I also posted this in the forum. You could just take a screenshot or like download it from the forum. If y'all want a better resolution, I could also upload it as like a PDF if that's necessary. Um, so this is basically. I mean, I can show y'all later how we use it because more in detail, right? Because that's what we're gonna do. But just very vaguely. I mean, for one, you can use this however you want, right? But this is just how I use it. Um, so I take a. So I have like an artwork right here, and all the color and everything. And I usually make like a smaller version with like color blobs, very vague. I mean, you'll see it later. And then I'll do another like black and white version. So this is black and white. This is like very simplified breakdown, so you don't get caught up in all the details. So I'll just write basic. Then from that, I usually take all the necessary colors, or the most important colors with the largest effect, put them on here, and then from there on, I try to find them kind of on this color wheel. I mean, again, I'll show you how all of this works later, just to kind of that what's going on. And from there on, I try to look at the color relationships. Right here, I have noted down like the color schemes and everything abbreviated, and from there on I could be like, oh, this is complementary color, and then if I notice any like sort of like contrast or anything, I could be like, oh, they use contrast with like values or something. So this is what like we'll be doing today for the first part. Yeah. And oh yeah, at the top you're not choosing color, you're choosing hue, saturation, value. This is a term I came up with in the first color workshop, because this is the second color workshop. Because again, like in digital art, we just kind of forget. I mean, traditional too, of course. We just kind of forget what colors are made out of, and if we just choose random colors without thinking the broader implications of hue, saturation, value, and how my color and my hue, saturation, value interacts with the other colors and the other hue, saturation, value, right? So it's always best to think about color as like it's not just one singular color. There's so much going on in your artwork, right? Alright, but let's get into it. So we'll be starting off with this beautiful, beautiful artwork um, by Toru Nakayama. This is a concept art from Mega Man Zero. I don't play this game. I don't know anything about this game. All I know is that it looks very beautiful, the concept art. And so basically, so there's two ways you could do this with the color blobs, because first we want to simplify and break it down into this top box right here. So the way I would recommend, but I'm not going to really do right now because it's more like time consuming, is to kind of make up the drawing yourself. I mean, you could even like fill the entire like box, to be honest. You could do whatever you want, and to kind of do like a smaller version of this painting. You can color pick. You could do whatever tools you need to do, right? Just make it simple and make it fast. But because we don't really have the time right now, I'm actually going to take the. Oh my God, why is this so big? What the hell have I done? What the hell have I done? There we go. I will actually just take a smaller version and just simplify it and turn it into color blobs on the spot, so you all can kind of see what I did with the other images to come. And basically, what I'm going to do now is remove all of the unnecessary colors, the colors which do not have a big impact on the viewer, the details, the everything. I'll just remove it, right? And it's very difficult at a lot of points because it's very like, you're always second guessing yourself, even me, because I'm an intermediate artist and everything, you know. But like all of this, we could probably just delete. If you have any like suggestions or anything, if you see that I'm doing anything wrong or like you do not agree with, just type it in the chat, because again, like, um, sometimes I also need the help, you know. Yeah, but all of this maybe we could delete. Um, Maybe this at the top we can delete. Um, this hair we could like simplify a lot. It also like helps if you go in with like a very much bigger brush, right? Even if you like squint your eyes, sometimes you could like see what kind of like falls away, and that you could also like typically like delete. It sucks because I don't have I've not prepared as much to create a color blob version of this one, because I was like, oh, I'm just gonna show it, but now I don't really have a backup plan to say. Yeah, but all of these like surfaces, you know, simplify the hell out of it. Yeah, color pick, it doesn't matter. We'll start with a no color picking exercise later when we talk about all the exercises. But for this, because you actually want to try to look at what color he actually used, and already I'm kind of like, oh, these background colors, they're so like cool, like not like cool as like the expression, but like cold colors. And it's also kind of like you just kind of start to notice. Obviously, when you do this, don't do it like brain dead, because you're still learning when you do this. You're learning at every step of the process. Any observation you're doing. Oops, sorry. Getting confused with my shortcuts, right? Yeah, but any observation you're doing, you're constantly learning, right? And this is just like how you continue. Maybe I could do the hair and then I'll stop. I just hope you kind of get the. Actually, this is too much detail. Let's get rid of all of it, right? And you can already kind of like see what like colors, overall like colors he's using, even like just like when doing this, you know. It don't matter color of the eyes, right? And so the next step now is, I mean, um, oops, just move the entire thing. Let's see, where's my. Alright, so this is the black and white version. Alright, so I also made a black and white version. So you could also, with the black and white, you can either take the color blob version and put it to black and white, so you put the saturation to 0, or you just take the original piece I've done both in the workshop, so it's kind of confusing. But as long as it works, it works. So the next step now, because now we have simplified it into the most basic and most important colors, because we got rid of all the detail, we're now going to color drop the colors, the most important colors, from here to here. And what I do is I sort them. I usually sort them for like character to character, or in this case, I will do it foreground and background. So let me just take some colors from the background, usually like shadows and lights and like areas like this. Um, Let me also take this hair over here. I mean, this is purple again, another shade, so I don't really need that, because it's more close to the other versions. I could also take this blue, but like it doesn't really take up a lot of the like artwork. And this is also like, you know, I don't want to put like too much stuff on here, because it's just gonna take a longer time to analyze. And then I'll do the foreground, and I'll do it right down here. The crazy saturated hair, which is literally at 100% saturation. I'll also take the light hair, and I'll take the red and the shadow, and the suit and the shadow. Oh, look, this is literally purple. I didn't know. And what else? Oh yeah, the sword. All right, I could also take the highlight of the sword, but I don't know if that would be necessary because it's just um, more desaturated, right? All right, and now we'll put these colors into this color circle. So as you can see that, so when you go around, it's all the different types of hues, and if you go inside, it will get desaturated. One thing is that this is just kind of one tone of gray you're working with. So when you have a very bright desaturated color, so like this color right here, it is still going to be like almost 100% desaturated. And that's where you're supposed to put it in the middle, right? And it's kind of like confusing because, it's obviously not gray. You're just sorting it all, you're just sorting it after like desaturation. So that's going to be confusing, but that's also why we have to kind of like train our eye because we can't really do a bunch of these like color circles, um, color spheres or whatever for each kind of different gray tone. So that's how I'm going to do it for now, right? Um, Alright, so let me start putting all of these colors into the color circle. So let me start with the background actually. So I have this blue right here. It's pretty saturated, but it's also kind of darker. Let me actually make this color, um, make this bigger so y'all can kind of see what I'm talking about, and where this color is. Alright, so this blue, it's like darker, but it's still very saturated, so it would be maybe somewhere around here, right? Normally when a color is like at the very edge, I kind of like go out a little bit because there's been cases where the color just gets lost because it looks exactly like the color. So I just always go out a little bit to kind of see where I'm at. Alright, this pink, it's also very saturated. Um, a little bit more desaturated, but obviously I don't think it is that problematic, and it's also more here you see it's just getting lost in it, so I'll just go out a bit more. Um, and then we have this purple right here. It's somewhere here because it's a bit more saturated, and as you can already see, you put it down and it's confusing because it doesn't really look like it. I think it's somewhere around here, but I'm also not entirely like sure. Alright, this is the color of I think these people over here in the background. Let's see where this is at. So it's blue. It's very desaturated. I think maybe it's somewhere around here. And this green color is very desaturated. I think it's somewhere around here, right? So this is for the background. Now let's see how these colors contrast with the foreground. So this is the character's hair. Orange, very very saturated, crazy colors. Yellow, very, very saturated. Let me put that down maybe somewhere here. This is the color of the armor he's wearing, or whatever that is. I'm sorry, I don't play the game. It's a little bit like desaturated, but to be honest, it doesn't really matter. And then it's also very saturated. It's just darker. So I'll just put this here because it's also more towards pink. And lastly, very desaturated. This is like purplish, black or slash gray. And then this is the highlight, or like the light color of the armor, and it is very desaturated. And ironically, again, it's also towards the middle, right next to the very dark color, right? If you have any questions at any time, just post them in the chat, right? And now we are going to analyze these colors. So this is all just the prep work we've done. We haven't really analyzed everything yet, except just copied down the colors, right? And that's not what we're here for. So, why am I not drawing? Alright, it's just too small. I just didn't see it. Alright, let me take this one. Alright, so, right, stuff we look at, hue, saturation, value. We can look at the overall composition. We can look at everything, as long as we're having fun, as long as we're learning. So, one thing I have already kind of noticed is that the main character's colors, so the main character had these colors and these colors, and it's very warm colors, right? So I'm just going to write that down, to be honest, in the notes. So main character has warm colors, while the background, which were all of these colors, should probably kind of put this in a different color so y'all could see. It's more cool colors. So background, cool colors, right? But that's not it, because if we also look at our um, little color schemes, you could also say that the artist also uses complementary colors in a way. Because for one, we have the orange or the yellow orange of the hair, and the bluish of the background. So that's also a thing you can say. Let's see if it's actually accurate, or how accurate it is. So this is kind of the blue they use, and it is pretty much opposite of the entire color wheel, right? Just put that on there. I mean, I could say complementary colors. All right, you have this right here. Oh, sorry, you have it right here. And I have put these symbols on, so you could also, like, in your analysis, use these symbols to kind of like tell what you're doing, right? And so we have blue and orange, but we also have a second complementary kind of color relationship going on. Sorry, this looks very messy right now, but it's actually in the what the hell? It's actually in the background, because we have these two colors right here. The more greenish color, you could say greenish, but to be honest, it's very desaturated, so it looks a lot more greenish than it actually is. And this pink color, which could also be considered complementary color. So this is where the pink color is at, and I'll just kind of do the arrow in the area. And what you'll notice is that the second arrow, the one for the background, it doesn't go like the whole wheel of the color wheel, because these other colors are more desaturated, right? Which is very important, because that's what I said last workshop, is that you always have to also look at what kind of saturation you're using when you apply these color schemes, because in most cases, you can't really be always going the whole how do I say, the whole color spectrum. You have to play with saturation and kind of make sure that one of the complementary colors is more saturated than the other one, and just play with the colors, right? So we can also use green and pink as complementary colors. Let's look at the value, because we also have the value right here. Let's see if we noticed if we notice anything here. And one thing I do notice, but I don't know how accurate this is that, I mean, for one, if you can see, the main character has like this outline, white outline, which helps, differentiate, oops, differentiate him between the background, because there's just like so many values going on. It's kind of just like hard to tell. So what the artist did is put like a soft outline, which is a pretty smart solve. But also one other thing I noticed, which I don't know how accurate or like how true this is, but I think they've used more darker colors for the foreground, because so these colors at the right, I mean on the left, they're also supposed to be pretty dark colors, right? But compared to the value of the pants, the value is a lot darker. So why didn't the artist just use uh, dark colors like this and dark colors like this here too? And I think it's because they were just trying to further differentiate the background from the foreground. But that's just what I think. So I'll just write it down. You can disagree. I'm not quite sure what the truth is. But I'll write down values a bit more darker in the foreground or in the main character, right? And so that's kind of what this analysis looks like. We look at the value, we look at the overall piece, color blobs, kind of get familiar with the colors, look at the color schemes. It's cool because here we could, with this color circle, we could look at the color schemes and the saturation at the same time. And then here, this is like for value and everything. So I really like the system. Yeah, but let's keep going and see what else we find. So this is the second piece. It's not as vibrant. I seen you scorching Scorpio saying it's very vibrant. Yeah, it was a lot of saturation going on, and this is a little bit less saturation. I already tried to do like some of the color blobs before in preparation, so I don't have to be stuck here. I noticed that the values right here on the side. So let's start again by pulling the colors down into this field over here. So we have quite a few colors for the water because it increases in saturation as it becomes lighter, but I will just simplify it down into 3 colors. And I'll also take the color of this character over here, which I don't really know what this is. I don't play the games. I just thought it was beautiful, right? And to be honest, this is a pretty like similar color, except the character is a bit more. Oops, what the hell did I do? A bit more saturated. And I could also like take the shadow color, because why not? It's a lot more darker. I'll also take this pink color, which I thought was pretty interesting. These you know, random pink in all the blue, and I think it looks amazing. And then also take the character's colors. Again, it doesn't really matter if you color pick from your simplified colors or your original reference layer. Alright, so this is the character, so I will separate this again into like a different section. Alright, let me take the shadow color of the armor. I could also take the light color of the armor, but to be honest, I don't think, there's not a lot of a difference. This is the the light color of the white parts, and this is how it changes. The shadow changes when it's in the water. And then we also have the hair, which is literally blue. It just looks like the hair color, the blonde hair color, because it's so desaturated. Again, these are all things we've talked about in the first workshop, right? And oh yeah, we could also take the sword. Right, so now let's again put all these colors into our little color wheel. So let's just start again with the background. So let's see what this is. It's a bit more desaturated, so I'll just put it right here. I think it's a little bit more greenish though, maybe here. Let's see how this compares to this. This is more greenish and more desaturated. So I'll put this. I'm not quite sure how close I am. I don't think I'm close at all. I think this was supposed to be supposed to go way further back. Oopsies. Start over. I think like that. I was just being confused again. Because like a darker color doesn't mean it's less saturated, right? Color is confusing. but we already know that. And this is very, very, very desaturated. And this is the character, so that was the water. Now this is the character. And let's see where we are. Again, it's also very saturated, so maybe somewhere here. This is the shadow color. It's also very saturated. What is going on today? Color is tricking me. And then this is a interesting pink. It's half saturation, kind of. I don't know if you could even say it like that. Half saturated. Maybe like here somewhere. Maybe a little bit more. Oh, I just removed the other colors because I undo too many times. Yeah. I don't know, somewhere here. I'm not quite sure. I don't know where they were. And then this is the red from the character's armor, which is red but a little bit less saturated, and it's also more towards pink right here. And what was this? Oh, this was the hair. This was the hair of the character. So crazy. Super desaturated. Oh, it almost looks gray, right? But a very smart solution, you know, to have it be in the. Let's actually test it out. Because, okay, he has like blonde hair, right? So what would happen if, you know, we'll give him like a blonde, typical shadow color hair, which I would give if I would be a beginner artist. You know, this would happen. And it kind of breaks the illusion of him being in water. You know, it just looks like he's just floating somewhere and it's blue, you know. It doesn't look like water anymore, right? So this is why kind of looking out for things like this, where it's like typically you would do something else, but he does it this way, where it's literally it's like those videos on Instagram where they go like, "Oh, what color is this?" And it's like, "Oh, color theory. What the hell?" Um. All right, so this is the shadow of the armor, I think, right? It's also it's more desaturated, but it's still very dark. All right, this is a sword. It's half. I'm just gonna say half desaturated. I don't even know if that's a term, but I'm just gonna put it right here. Um. Oh yeah, this was the shadow color of the white parts, which is somewhere around here, maybe. Oh yeah, that's pretty accurate. Okay, and then this white color, you know, very desaturated, right? Doesn't even really make sense to put that there, right? All right, and now let's again analyze what are these colors doing. So one thing I already noticed is that, I mean, of course, there's a cool and warm contrast going on with the red from the character and everything else, which is all cool colors, right? So I'm just gonna put that down. Um, Warm, cool contrast, so we don't forget, right? Um, the character also has complementary colors because he has the sword over here, which is more, I would say it's more a cool color because it's also desaturated and in this bluish environment. But naturally, I think people consider colors like green and pink not really as cool or warm colors because they're like in between of cool and warm colors. But in this context, it would be, I think, considered a more cool color just because it's more desaturated and in this cool context, which automatically makes it more look like a cool color, right? Stuff we talked about in the first workshop, right? All right. The next thing I noticed, I was gonna say, is that this character kind of has also complementary colors going on with these two colors, right? With the greenish, which is desaturated, and this red, which is more saturated. All right, y'all see that? So I'm also gonna put that down. So complementary colors. This is inside the main character, and I'm just gonna put down red and green. I don't know why I don't know why I'm writing the full words now of the colors. All right, so now let's actually take a look at the values of the color because that's one thing we haven't looked at yet. And already, one thing you see is that towards this head, it's actually surrounded by a lot of how do you say, bright colors, right? While the head itself is, or like this top of the body of this character is very dark. And so this automatically produces a sort of contrast, which is quite interesting because a lot of the warm cool contrast and the complementary colors we have going on is right here. So in a way, we have two focal points now. But I would argue that due to the values and also because kind of the shape of the character, the direction of the eye, when you look at the artwork, actually goes in this direction. And I think this is also because, I mean, for one, we have the. Let me write this down. Oh, what the hell am I doing? What the hell am I doing? Alright, so we have our artwork right here, and we have this interesting shape going on right here, and we have contrast inside with value right here, black and white contrast. And then what's interesting is that with the character, we have the complementary and warm and cool contrast, the color contrast going on right here. And I think that naturally kind of pulls the eye towards this direction, you know, for one because of the shape, for one because the focal point starts here, and then also you want to look at the second most eye-catching thing, which is the color contrast right here. I don't know if I've explained it good, but that's one thing I kind of noticed when I was looking at this artwork. Um, yeah. Alright, cool. Now we're gonna move on from this video game into this beautiful, beautiful artwork from, I do not know how to pronounce this name, but this is from Instagram, right? That's what you see. This is why you see the volume and and the freaking numbers, the slides numbers, you know. But you know, who cares, right? Right, beautiful artwork as well. I think Scorching Scorpion would also say, you know, very vibrant piece, right? Um, all right, let's analyze this. Let's try and see what's going on. Um, it doesn't have, I think, as many colors, important colors compared to the other one, so I don't think this one should take a whole long while. Right, so we have the leaves over here, we have the sky, we have always this grayish color going on more towards the background. In the foreground, this is the leaves and everything, or like the grass. We could also include this, you know, towards here. And then the character, you know, the armor, the horse, the light, and more the shadows of the horse. And you can also like put the smaller things on here, but I don't think it's really as necessary. Oh yeah, one thing I should probably say is that in the workshop and like this season with all the uh, teaching or like whatever we've been doing in the watch parties, we're not really focusing so much on like the realistic side of color and like all the color effects and the science, like, you know, because this armor right here, it's a more bluish tone because the light reflects off of it and all that stuff, but we're not really focusing on that right now. We're just focusing on color overall and what makes color look good. So sorry, I should have said that more towards the beginning, but I just remembered it, right? All right. Let's see. Is that all for the colors? I think so. I mean, we could like take the face and the hair as well, but I don't really think that's as necessary because it's already I mean, you know, it's kind of similar with the leaves, and we just want to get kind of through this and kind of see the overall picture, right? So, all right, this color, very very saturated color. Maybe yeah, I think it's towards here. Oh yeah, no, it's definitely towards here. And the blue, very very vibrant, very very saturated. Well, it's a little bit desaturated, maybe like kind of here. And now this is for the trees in the background. And it's literally almost gray, and it's kind of in this more reddish area. And then the grass on the ground is desaturated yellow. So that's it for the background. And for the character, brown, right? Very desaturated. Maybe somewhere here. White. Just put it in the middle. Don't matter. Orange, also like, yeah, desaturated. I mean, not really orange. It's like brown, whatever. And so this is very interesting as well, um, because we obviously have complementary colors going on again, right? When are we gonna get anything but complementary colors, right? But what's interesting is that the colors with the complementary colors, the colors of the complementary colors, right? Well, this is my mind. Um, they're obviously very saturated. And before I said like, oh, usually it's like uh, you wouldn't want to have both colors be as saturated, but uh, I say that kind of to remind people of balancing their colors, because what I used to do when I was a beginner artist, and I see other people do when they always see complementary colors, just put all colors with max saturation, or like, that's also what I said last workshop, because you've seen those images with the color schemes, and what I would do, I would literally just color pick these diagrams where you see all the different color schemes and put them on my color palette, when I was drawing digitally and everything, right? I don't know if I don't know if that makes sense what I just said, right? But all of these colors, the function of these colors is to basically just balance these two saturated colors, right? And this is why it's just so important to pay attention to desaturated colors, even though they're like the boring colors most of the times. Uh, Scorching Scorpio said, "I was going to say I can already hear the medieval Celtic pipes." Yep. Oh no, he left. Maybe that's why he left, because he heard the pipes. That's fine. All right. So, what was I gonna say? Yeah. Right. So let's put that on here. We have complementary colors again. We have orange and blue, but then we should also kind of add, because this is important, he balances it um, with his desaturated colors. And we can actually take a look at this. So let's actually, I'll make a new layer, and actually, I don't even have to go that far. Oops. Because you could look at it in the color blob version. That's why we do this, right? I'm going to actually just take a random color and draw over all the areas with the most saturated color. Oh, well, that's not accurate. All right, just ignore the trees in the background. I'm not really paying attention to the trees in the background right now. I know they're really not like, uh, they're not as saturated, right? All right, so I tried to cover up all the most saturated areas, and maybe get rid of that. And as you can see, what is left is the areas with the unsaturated colors. And the artist actually divided, because they have the saturated colors, which make the complementary colors, and the desaturated colors, the supporting colors, and the neutral colors. And he actually didn't just put them on randomly, but he actually divided it into foreground and background. So in the background you have the saturated colors, in the foreground you have desaturated colors, which also makes a saturational contrast. um, I think, I don't know if you use this term as well in English, but like a quality contrast or something. I'm not quite sure if that's a term which is used. I know it's used in German, right? Um, but yeah, that's also very interesting that he didn't just like was all random with it, but he actually was also thinking of dividing it into the foreground and background to kind of support his focal point. So let's just put in that he also divide the balancing colors are divided into foreground and background. And oops, oh my god, what am I doing? All right, just ignore that. And then also, yeah, let's look at the values of this piece, because we have a lot of bright colors, the horse, the shadow, and then we also have the darkest colors right next to it, which is typically like a sign from the artist, this is my focal point, this is the most value, like contrast you'll get from me, this is where you're supposed to look at, and that's where we typically look at. Among other things like the saturational contrast and all those stuff, because these things just make up the focal point, right? And so we can kind of say that this is the focal point right here, right? Because it's just the place that has the most visual tension, I guess you could say, because it's just the place with the most contrast. And then also we have the freaking background saturated, foreground desaturated thing going on. So I'll just also, actually, I'll just write right here that this is kind of our focal point because of the values. Focal point. Alright, let's go on to the next drawing. Actually, let's might take a little break. Is that okay with y'all? If we take a little, maybe like a 5-minute break or something? You can just type in the chat. Because I feel like I'm talking a lot, talking very fast, and I'm not quite sure if y'all can catch up. Just put in the chat if you feel like a break or something. Other than that, I just probably continue and move on to the next piece. Alright, let's just get this done. We have 1, 2, 3. After this one, there's 3 more drawings. Yeah. Alright, so this one is by the same person. Very, very beautiful. I would say it's kind of less saturational things going on, but there is still saturation, contrast, and everything going on, but very beautiful piece, right? Oops. Alright, let's copy down these colors. We have, oh, what the hell? Oh, I'm not even in the right folder. Like, what the hell's going on? Alright, these colors in the these flowers in the foreground. Red, orange color. Just gonna put this right in here. We have the armor, which is desaturated. It's bluish and desaturated. More desaturated than that. We have... Oh wait, I forgot to put this in here. That's why you should do one thing at a time. Alright, so this is the character. The highlight, the face. Yeah, I think that's enough, to be honest. Oh wait, and this color right here. Yeah, this is just gonna be right here. The hair looks a lot like greenish to me, but that's only because it's a desaturated version of blue. Let's also put that in here. Desaturated version of blue. And this face right here, it's kind of desaturated. This color. Oh yeah, and the freaking light, right? So these are the characters' colors, quite desaturated. And now let's continue with the background. So we have this is the grass, which is like a brownish color, I'd say. A little bit desaturated, but it's mainly just dark. Now the grass, this is a yellow. It's also kind of desaturated. I'll just put it right here somewhere. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. And then it's more desaturated, but a little bit more towards green, right? They're fooling us. They're confusing us with their saturation. What did we just select? Oh yeah, this is the background. Oh yeah, we didn't really do the background colors. I mean, we could do that as well. But to be honest, it's not really as important. I mean, though it is desaturated colors, but we can also get to that later when we look at the overall saturation. And yeah, then again, let's try to look at these colors, what's going on. So this is the character's colors, oh, with the face. And this is the environment colors, right? And there's also like stuff like the sky, but this is kind of one section of the grass, right? And we already see this is more warmer colors, especially with these flowers in the foreground, which provide a saturational contrast, because you know we compare it with the character right here, which is desaturated. I don't think there's any crazy complementary things going on. I think one thing you could say, you know, because it's more like because it's desaturated and it's more bluish, it's kind of put against the the orange and the red and everything. That's one thing you could say, but I don't think. Um, I mean, you could say that, but you know, it's always I'm always just kind of unsure how extreme it has to be complimentary. Actually, if we put down the sky, is it gonna make any change? Yeah, okay. I'm just gonna I'm just gonna say it's complimentary, right? Because the sky even kind of goes further. I don't know how accurate that is. All right, so let's say complementary colors. Oh yeah, we also have a cool, warm contrast between the character and the grass and everything. So, character, grass. I'm not gonna say foreground and background because the flowers belong to the foreground and they're very saturated. So it's more like, you know, the character in the grass or whatever, right? And kind of losing my train of thoughts. um, one sec. Oh yeah, I forgot I took notes. Oh yeah, saturation contrast. Let's look at all of that. So I'm just gonna go over again all the saturated areas. So these flowers are pretty saturated. The these grasses, the grass in the foreground, there's actually a gradient going on from kind of saturated to more desaturated, which you could also observe right here where it goes more desaturated and also changes the hue, right? Um, yeah, and then the rest is pretty much not as saturated. Let me look at the flowers in the background. Okay, they're saturated again. Oops, wrong color. Yeah, they're saturated again. You could say, right? Um, yeah. So there's and then desaturated. You could kind of see that all of these other areas, or more like desaturated. And so they also do. The artist also does again like a saturational contrast. Um, Saturational contrast. And let's see. Warm, cool. Blah blah blah. Oh yeah, for the value, I think it's also pretty like easy to see. You have this very bright grass area. You have this bright hats. Even right here, it's bright, and then it's just the character, and it's just dark, right? So the focal point, I would say, is also kind of like around here because you know you have the white here. This is also kind of bright, and then you have a lot of dark areas going on right here. And it's also like contrasted with the brightness of the grass. I would argue that that's where the focal point is. And usually the focal point is always towards the face. So that's also one kind of tip you can kind of use for your observational when you look at it and like try to see, where's the focal point. Typically, it's towards the face if it's like a portrait or like a character thingy. But that's not true all of the time, right? So let's just say focal point. Alrighty. Um, yeah, that's it for this one. Now let's keep going with a different artist. What the hell is this? Where is this coming from? Alright. Um, Mosaic. Artist I follow for on Instagram for quite some time. Um, and this is always a drawing I really liked when I was a beginner artist. So it's kind of nostalgic looking at it again. Alright, so let's copy down the colors again. From our simplified version, we have the sky, we have clouds, which are bright, and there's also like different like tones. So, but I don't think they differ as much. They just look very different, but they're both really desaturated. So, and then the character's face, they don't use a lot of colors compared to the other artworks and everything. And the shirt. That's all I'm gonna copy down, right? Alright, so as you can see, actually let me put it in so it's a little bit more clear. All of these colors are super desaturated. It's like somewhere here. Oh, that's perfect. super desaturated. The skin also super desaturated. And even the sky. Even the sky is super desaturated, right? So, how are you supposed to make any contrast out of this? Or, like, how are you supposed to analyze these colors? But the interesting thing about desaturated colors, because we're the whole time we're kind of looking for a balance. How do these artists balance stuff? Where's their focal point? Where's their most amount of, like, contrast and everything? And color-wise, there's not a lot of contrast going on, except that we have black and white contrast again in the values, right? Which is still color to some extent, right? Because we have this hair over here, and it's right next to the bright ass sky, and so we kind of already look at this area. So I'm just gonna say focal point. And one other thing this artist does is they use straight up black to color in the shadows of the hair, to kind of line the eyes, even to kind of shade the neck and everything. But as soon as we kind of move down, we don't have a lot of that going on, except in like the bird's feathers, where it's also very like dark. So I would also kind of say that the darkest colors they use towards the focal point to kind of shade it, and I think they need that because there's not a lot of contrast going on with the desaturated colors. So he or she, I think it's a she to be honest, she kind of like defines these colors more. But yeah, I actually don't know what gender they are. I think it's a she though. Right, so yeah, we have the focal point right here. And also one thing again about desaturated colors, which I don't know if I completed my sentences, is that they are already in harmony. Because balance is all about harmony. That's why we're kind of looking for how are they balancing things. But this kind of harmony, when you use desaturated colors together, it's already harmonious. Because harmony, again, it's like also about what do your colors have in how are your colors similar. This is all stuff again in the first workshop when we have kind of made our own color palettes and everything from scratch. So you should really look into the first workshop for those kind of things, right? Yeah, the desaturated colors hold hands. Let me see what else I wrote. Facial details, value contrast. Yeah, there's not really a lot going on. There is like some warm, cool stuff, but it's like so subtle because of the desaturated contrast. You could also like argue because of the skin, it's like warm colors, and then the sky and the rest is cool colors. That's also something you could say and like write down. Um, you know, warm, cool. But again, I don't know how like extreme something has to be for it to kind of be a thing. Like, I don't know if we're just making stuff up at this point. Alright, next artwork. I think this is the second to last one, okay? From Ni, Miku, right? Beautiful, beautiful colors. And you might look at this and be like, there's so many colors going on. How am I supposed to analyze this? And it took me some time to figure out, and I'm not sure if I have it completely down because just a lot of stuff going on, right? Let's see what colors they use. So I try to do my best to break it down into the most important colors. So we have the hair over here, we have a hair shadow over here. Again, they use so many different types of colors, also called color variation. Also something we go over in the first workshop. But basically how the color variation works is that if you look at the black and white version, you don't really see all the different colors because they're the same value. They're just different hues and different saturations, right? And that's why it looks good, because the colors have something in similar, right? Oh, my saturation is a bit lower. Has gotten a bit lowered, right? Color of the skin. We also have some background, some pinks, some blues. Very nice colors, I don't know if I'm gonna put all these colors down into the thing, but I just thought it was interesting. And then also one thing we have, which I didn't put on here because I didn't think it was as important. But we also have this grayish color, very interesting. Um, oh yeah, and then of course we have the gray and the black and everything, right? The black, right? Um, so let's put everything down again. So this was the hair, the light color, very desaturated towards blue. This is more saturated towards blue. Oh wow, this is perfect. This is the skin color, very desaturated towards pink, right? Um, this is what color is this? Oh, it's like stuff for the background, right? Um, Random background colors. Maybe somewhere here. More background colors. Very interesting. I love this artwork because it's just so beautiful. And this pink over here, also more desaturated. Um, Maybe somewhere here. Again, it's like because it's a different like value, it just looks like it doesn't belong there. I hope it does belong there. Again, like I'm unsure as well. And then this is like a yellowish green, very desaturated. Then of course we have the black. We have this other grayish color they use for the skirt and everything. This is also towards blue. This is a more saturated version of blue, which goes, I think, towards here somewhere. And a lighter version, but I think also very desaturated. I'm not quite sure. Don't trust me with any of this. Alright, so a lot of stuff going on. And one thing again I would like to point out is that this color for, because they've used so many like again like desaturated colors together, I think what they have done, I'm not quite sure though, is use this black color again like the other artist to kind of bring some more contrast and more like structure into it. And also again we have like the focal point, which I think is more, I think where the most black is, but then we also have black down here and black down here, so I'm also kind of unsure. But I think, if we have, you know, uh, sorry, because, compared to this black down here, it's also kind of surrounded by dark colors, while over here it's surrounded by the bright colors, the black, right? So we could also try to write that down, but I'm not as sure, to be honest. So I'm not going to write that down. Alright, so let's look at these colors. For the background, we have these warm colors playing together here. Let me actually turn on Do Not Disturb mode because I'm getting messages from other servers. Sorry. Yeah. Right, and then we also have this color in the background, which only is able to fit in the background because it's so desaturated, right? This is more colors of the character, and then we have this very bright skin color. Super interesting. I love this artwork, which is also why it's kind of so hard to kind of analyze it, at least for me. Sorry. One thing I was thinking about when I was looking at this, because I'm not really as familiar with these other color schemes, one thing I noticed that maybe it is kind of like a tetradic color scheme because you could put these perfectly into a square. Right, and again, like what you notice on Google when they talk about tetradic color scheme, it's more like this, with saturated. They only show you the saturated colors, but again, they're balancing all the colors with the saturation. And some colors are more saturated than others, because they're all supposed to be in balance and in harmony together. And then again, they use this black color to kind of outline the eyes and everything. And to be honest, the artwork, it's amazing. I love it so much. I love it so much. Yeah, we could also kind of make it true to my little symbols down here. Let's see what else I got. Value, contrast, desaturated colors. Oh yeah, they take back the focus with the black color, right? Not sure if it's tetradic colors, but I hope so. Yeah, color variation, we talked about that. Cold, warm contrast. they also have, but I feel like this is can be a lot of the times true for multiple, even with like color schemes, you know. But we could also write that down, that it's also cool, warm contrast going on again. Warm color over here, very overwhelming in the background, right? And then we have the cool colors right here. But then again, it's like everything is also kind of desaturated. It also kind of begs the question, how extreme does the cold and warm contrast have to be? You know, if everything's so desaturated, how intentional was it? But I can still write it down. So we have cool, warm contrast, and then we have this tetradic color scheme, which I'm not quite sure again. Tetrad, tet, oh my god, tetradic, and they again control the saturation to have it be balanced, right? Um, yeah, and then we could say maybe somewhere here is the focal point. I'm not quite sure. So many cool information. So much cool stuff. And this is the last artwork. Last one before I'll show you the exercises. Anybody need a break? Oh, Snooster's typing. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Um, just getting ready my notes. Alright, well, I'm already gonna put down the colors. Oh, so sadly I missed like half of the thing, breakfast and chores. I'm wondering on when you plan to put this onto YouTube. So I know last time it took a while, but this time I'll try to have it on there in like a couple of days. Um, Again, it also all kind of depends on my schedule, but like these things are mostly like unedited and everything. So with the other one, I just had to kind of figure out how to fix the audio, and I wasn't able to fix the audio, and I just made mistakes when I was recording it. So it was like really frustrating. Um, but yeah, I'll have it sooner than later on the oops on the YouTube. All right. I only think I need to put a lot more other colors on here because I think these are already kind of the main colors. Let me find these colors. So desaturated. That looks good. Oh yes, Nooster says, got it. Thank you so much, and be sure to take your time on it. Yes. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I have to have it up sooner than later, you know, because if people start their journals and everything, it's gonna be important, you know. Um, oh yeah, this yellow color is also desaturated. I'm just putting all the colors on right now. To be honest, I already forgot what these colors were originally. And then this greenish color right here. Alright. Alright, so let's see. This was the shirt. This one was mainly the clothes, or like, I just summarized it all into one color. This one was, we had the grass. Well, there's also another color for the, oops. There's also another color for the grass, which I could also put on, to be honest. It's also just like a brownish color. Maybe somewhere. Oh, it's a bit more saturated though. Maybe here, right? Um, Alrighty. So I feel like this should already become kind of obvious because I would say that they also kind of use a complementary colors, even though it's kind of, you don't really notice it, mainly because of the values and everything. But I guess you could also say it's like a cool, warm contrast type of thing. I'm not quite sure, right? Um, they have this color, which is like, technically it would be, oh, actually blue's down here. It's like a greenish blue, I guess. Um, Kind of weird, like turquoise, you know. But I still want to say it's complementary colors, you know. I'm not as sure, right? So, but I'll put it down right here, complementary. And then also warm, cool contrast, because this is cool color and all these are warm colors. And then again, like this is very saturated and all these are really not as saturated, right? Um, oh yeah, the values. I think this is already a little bit obvious because we have all these dark colors and all these bright colors going on right here. Like he's literally sitting behind the light. So this is definitely the focal point. And also, because if you look at the colors, this is literally the area which is being like contrasted, you know? And then, you know, you could even like look at the other compositional like techniques where they do like the rule of thirds and everything. You would see like, yeah, this is definitely supposed to be like the focal point. The focal point. Uh, uh yeah, yeah, whatever, right? Y'all understand it, right? All right, so all right, we have that was a lot of information, and I apologize. You know, maybe in the future you could look back at the recording and take it slow. But I hope you kind of gotten a better feel for how you could use this color analysis chart I made. You know, like you could use it, free to use. It's already posted in the channel, right? Thank you for your attention, participation, and participation. It's not over yet because I'm going to go over the color exercises, but it's going to be pretty fast. And all of these are already up in the chat and everything, so you know, no problem if you miss something, right? Snooster says, "Yep, he." Oh, I don't know if you he she they. Oh, I'm sorry, I haven't checked. I just call you Snooster Rooster. Sorry. Yeah, Snooster Rooster says yes. So color exercises. This is the list of the color exercises, right? You can look at it later, but it's basically just this, right? I have put two traditional exercises you should probably do with paint or something if that's available to you. If not, of course, there's a bunch of like other exercises. But you know, again, like it's even like down here, it text, you know, compared to digital art painting, in traditional painting, you have to actively create your colors, which requires a deeper understanding of the colors. And in digital art, you know, like right here, you could just pick any color you want, which, you know, most of the times kind of also doesn't really provide any understanding. Like you're not actually trying to mix the color, you know. So understanding traditional colors and painting can also obviously improve your digital painting skills or color understanding, right? So yeah, so for one we have painted studies, painted observational studies with a traditional medium, preferably paint. Limit your color palette by only using primary colors and tones of gray. So I said this because I know there's a lot of like paint tubes with all in the like different kind of colors, and if you look at your reference or like, you know, you could do this with like a still life or any kind of reference you want, you know. Um, Sometimes in some color sets you have that just exact tone or like a similar tone, but it's actually just supposed to be about like kind of mixing the colors and kind of seeing what colors seeing what colors it is, right? And I also said, you know, tones of gray to control saturation. If you mix tones of gray, you can just add your color with gray and it's already like desaturated. And for tones of gray, you know, black and white, right? I know people always say like, oh, don't paint with black and white, but I feel like they only say that because you don't understand how to paint with black and white and how to control saturation and when to do saturation, because most people just do like, oh, shadow, I'm just gonna add black, right? So you can use black and white, you know, primary colors. To be honest, like if you don't like, you even don't have to limit yourself to primary colors if you kind of keep that mindset. You know, I have to still mix my own colors. You know, so take it as a guideline. And then the second thing is color matching, which is basically the same thing you do with the painting over here. You just try to match colors. You know, like right here, you would match it to the reference and put it on the where it is in the still life or in the reference, right? But here, you're just trying to match the colors and mix the colors. So these are, you know, some things you kind of recreate when you post it in your journals. You could even add like the number and everything. You don't have to pick it off of these colors. You could do, you know, whatever you want. You know, again, all of these are like suggestions and everything. The second category, referencing other artists. right? So this is what we did just now, breaking down an artwork into simple color blobs and analyze our hue saturation value. Yeah, look at this workshop. I think you already looked at this workshop because you're literally here. Yeah, you could use the thingy we used before. Um, and then, oh yeah, recreate artworks without any color picking. So this is digital, right? I mean, you could, it's basically the same like thing as the traditional thing, but just digital, except no color picking, right? You can trace the artwork if you're doing it digital, but if you're um, since you're going to be referencing other artists, I would not recommend you to post your drawing. You would have to kind of sometimes, in the artist bio, sometimes they say, don't, no tracing, no re-uploading and everything. Um, this is just going to be an educational tracing, so don't pretend like it's yours and it's your artwork. We only learn here, right? We don't claim other people's art. We appreciate colors. We don't take colors because that's not how colors work, right? Um, and then, one thing we shortly did before, this is more like a mindset, I feel like, with the hair, where he was like in the water, and it was like, it was just like a purple color. You could try to alter the artist's color choices and analyze the original color's impact. This is not really supposed to take a long time if you look at one artwork, probably just like a minute or something, like we did earlier. Get in the mindset, yeah, it's more like a mindset thing. Get in the mindset of observing the artist's color choices and recognizing its importance. What if it was a darker value? What if it was a more saturated color? Blah, 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 right? Pretty interesting. And the last category, the other category, right? Other things you could do is try to create a harmonious color palette. So this is what we did in the first workshop, where we have tried to, we have taken random colors and we tried to, with 3 methods, try to make it more harmonious and balance the colors out. It kind of makes you learn how to pick right colors, how to work with saturation, how to kind of pick colors so it still kind of looks like the original color you want to pick, but because you're changing the saturation and the hue, it looks still like the same color, but it just fits a lot more with the overall color palette. Again, watch workshop 1 if you want to do this. Color thumbnails. This is before you start a artwork, before you put down colors. You can try to do like a small color version with like color blobs. That's what I call it. I don't know what it's actually called, but just like a small version. Don't even like make it on your entire drawing. If you're doing it digitally, make sure to have like a small box in the corner or something. You can still like copy and paste your sketch. Just make sure it's small because you want to look at the overall colors. Don't get stuck in any details. You're basically like reverse engineering the color blobs from earlier, right? And you just kind of, the whole point of this is to like experiment, try and see what's best, plan out your colors, right? Color balls sounds very weird. This is a screenshot of Triangle, who is not here right now. I wonder why they're not here, you know. But this was, I think, like a month ago or something, where they did like a color blob, color ball exercise. And you basically, the whole point of this is when you're rendering and you're doing your highlights and shadows and your gradients, sometimes you kind of get lost in what colors you could use and how the transitional colors look like in that gradient. And so one thing you could do, again, this can be just like the color thumbnails, where you do this before you render or before you put the colors down to kind of just plan out what color is your highlight, what color is your shadow, what color is your this and this and that, right? You just test out your transitional colors before rendering. Again, if you want to do this the best way you can for a drawing you have, it's always good to do one for the skin, one for the hair, one for the this and that. Um, but I feel like that's a more like a detailed thing. It's not really like when we talk about overall in the artwork, because we just kind of, with all the exercises, just kind of look at it more broadly. We don't really look at the physics of color. And because this is more like light and shadow, you would also probably have to look at the physics of color, or like, what is a Terminator line, or like the line which is right here between the shadows and the light. What is a mid-tone, I don't know, all those sorts of things. I'm sure there's a lot of YouTube videos on YouTube or art books if you have, right? One thing you could also do is when you're drawing traditionally is to stop using blending modes for a while when you're doing your practices or when you're just experimenting with color, you know, because you're growing dependent on the blending modes, which kind of forces you to, which kind of um, doesn't really make you think anymore as much about your colors. So it's really good to try to pay attention to the shadow color, to the light color without the blending modes. One thing you can do if you feel like it is also analyze blending modes and why does this multiply color. I mean, when I put a color onto a layer and put it to multiply, why is this giving me this color? Is it a good color? And you could even like analyze that and try to pick your own multiply colors. Like imagine you're going to go over with the desaturated green with your multiply on your multiply layer and you kind of try to see how accurate you were. You can also do stuff like that, you know. But this is all about like you're trying to understand color yourself. You're not trying to let the program kind of do it for you, right? We did this in the first workshop, fixing an old colored artwork. Now, this is more like a fun thing, you know, like see how much you improved. You can also analyze your old colors and, you know, just like change it and make it better. And then also, you know, use color scheme slash hue harmonies. Get inspired by pre-existing color harmonies. Yeah, use it properly. Like, don't just like be like, you know, this is small as fuck, but don't just be like, oh, I'm gonna use this purple and I'm gonna use this purple. I mean, this yellow, orange, whatever, and I'm going to instantly implement this into my artwork. You know, like oh, this is the hair and this is no, like this is just a concept. You're supposed to from the concept like get your colors. You know, and think. You know, don't just let people do the thinking for you. You know, like um, these are just theories. You're supposed to put them into use and balance the colors yourself, you know? Alright, well, that's everything for the color workshop, so to say. I see we have 3 people left here, which is totally fine, because now I'm going to get into the. Oh, flashbang! I'm going to get into the superhero. Create your superhero villain. This is so weird because we haven't had like a single break and everything. We're just kind of speeding through everything, which, you know, my apologies. But, you know, this is going to be uploaded onto YouTube so you can like pause it or whatever. Yeah. Some new stars already say, yeah, super exciting. Alright, so this is going to be super simple. Not really, right? So, first thing you do in this event, do you want to be a hero or do you want to be a villain, right? I mean, I guess it's not really about being, it's more like creating a character, which can be a persona, you know, so I guess it would be if you want to be a hero or a villain. Um, oh, I see. Hi. Oh my god, I never tried to pronounce your name before. Uh, Michi GD, right? We already kind of wrapped up the color workshop. Now we're just going into the new event, which is going to be happening, right? All right. So first of all, do you want to make a character which is a hero, or do you want to create a character which is a villain, right? Um, First thing you would do is, of course, think of your character. Who's your character going to be? And think about the backstory, the powers, the personality, and the values, or like the overall goal, you know, because they're going to be either hero or villain. Do they want to destroy the city or save the city, right? And you're going to write a short text. By short text, I mean like 4 sentences. You know, like it doesn't really have to be anything wrong. It's not really like school. It's just for other people to kind of know who your character is, right? And then you're going to make a simplified character sheet, maybe showing some alpha details or colors or expressions. It's all like up to you. Like I have an example over here, which is what it can look like. It doesn't have to look like this, right? You don't even have to include all these things. The point of it is just to get your character across to other people, so other people understand it, right? Make sure if you want to, you can write your username of your socials or something in the corner, or your Discord username, you know, because this is your character, you know, you can show it off, right? Right, so in this example, there's like a simple turnaround. You don't really have to do this, but it's, you know, it would be good if, depending on the type of costume your character is wearing, if there's any like things which need more detail, you could add that. You could put the short text right into the character sheet. I don't know if that's how the pros do it, but I don't care. We don't care. All right, that's the first part. Kind of making a character sheet to show off all the things your character kind of is. And the deadline is the 20th of November. Now, the core of the event, the final goal, is to basically make an artwork with another person's character. So if another person did a villain design and a villain character, you can, you're going to be choosing the character you want in your artwork, but you could just choose any characters from the other server members and make a artwork of your character interacting with their character. Obviously, it should be safe for work. It should be within the server rules. But examples, you could be fighting villains or fighting heroes, or you could be chilling together. You could be making friends. You could be, taking over the world together. You don't have to always have like hero villain. You could also have villain villain or hero hero, just chilling together, interacting together. You could even like type in the chat, like for ideas or something. Yeah, so it's just going to be kind of you drawing you and their character, right? And the deadline is the 10th of December. These deadlines might also change depending on like people's times and like what they're, how they're going to finish. Once this deadline runs out, you should not really develop any more characters. I guess you can if you already have an illustration, but like don't expect anybody to draw your character after this date, If you're done with your character sheet and you already see someone else's character sheet, you can already start your illustration before this deadline, right? This deadline is just to kind of make sure that everybody who wants to participate in the event already has down their character sheet, so you could like have something to work with, because it's not just going to be, I'm going to post my character sheet on the 10th of December and I really want someone to draw my character, like that's impossible because nobody can do that, right? If nobody seems to be drawing someone's character, I'm going to step in and I'm going to draw their character because everybody kind of deserves to have some fun. So that's going to be fine. I'm also going to have a character sheet as well, probably, right? Yeah, so that's the event. It's going to be lasting whole month of November and to the 10th of December, maybe a bit longer again, right? So I hope you all can make up some cool characters. I'm going to be starting the. Oh, so this also means that Promptober is going to end, but if you still have any submissions you would like to do, you could just reach out to me in the direct line and I can still kind of take in your submissions if you want that. Also, one thing I should say, yeah, I will upload the whole like or send the whole like announcement for this event right after this workshop, right? Obviously, with all the information. So you're the first people to hear of this, right? And to maybe start working on it and kind of get some ideas. I will also in the announcement I will be doing. There's going to be a little text which basically says like if you submit your art, you're okay with us posting it onto the Improve Your Art socials, so we could show off the event and everything. And you can obviously put in your Instagram or your TikTok username with the submission if you want to be tagged or if we should like shout you out or something, that's totally fine, right? So just so everybody's on the same page, but this is also going to be in the announcement, right? So how are you feeling? Everybody kind of tired from all the information, or you excited for the event, or how are y'all feeling? Oh, my whole Discord is bugging. What the hell's going on? Snooster's typing. Snooster's excited. Bean Thief is typing. That's a cool name, Bean Thief. Now I know who stole my beans. I definitely need the archive of the workshop. Yeah, it will be uploaded onto the YouTube. Also, it's going to be all the links and all the images are going to be in the Color Season 2. Bean Thief says, also sorry for stealing the beans. Yeah, you better return those. Those are mine. I don't feel confident enough to do a full drawing yet. That's fine. I mean, um, you can also like for the like superhero, supervillain, whatever event. It doesn't have to be like colored as well. Like it can also be like a small drawing or a doodle. The effort doesn't really matter, right? Or like the effort. You should put in effort, but like the skill doesn't really matter. Like we're an Improve Your Art server. If you're a beginner artist, that's like the whole point of the server. So I know if you don't feel confident, no one's forcing you. I just like to always motivate people to post because I think it's amazing. I love seeing like beginners art. I feel like my Wi-Fi is kind of suffering right now. I'm gonna end the recording for the workshop. One sec.